Welcome to the Real and the Woo for another bonus episode of Why Not Me. And today I'm sitting down with my friend Jill Kempner, who will tell us her story in her own words of why she chose this segment versus my regular show. And so I love that I'm able to give people a choice now. And I'm glad that Jill has chosen what aligns with her. So before we get going into your story, Jill, I just want you to tell my listeners who you are, what you call yourself, what you do, and take it away.
To be here on your beautiful podcast. I appreciate you thinking of me being one of your interviewees, and I look forward to sharing. My name is Jill Kempner. I'm an angel coach and author, and I served as a massage therapist and a yoga teacher for 20 years. During my massage career, I studied energy medicine. So when I had a couple of injuries and I decided to retire from massage after 20 years, I shifted my practice into all angels all the time, energy work. Within that time, I also published my first book, Receiving from Your Angels, 4 Practices to Heal Your Pain with Angel Love, which I'll be sharing a little bit of my story and some of the practices in my book with you today. So as an angel coach, what I do is I help my clients heal pain in their bodies with the love of the angels. And we work with the relax, release, receive process that I outlined in my book. And like I said, I'm an energy healer. So it's all about getting to the root of the pain and healing it for good, healing it once and for all, working with the angels and energy work. So that's what I do.
Yes, and I was lucky enough to experience one of your healing sessions. I don't remember what we called it, but it was fantastic. And I would love to come back. I plan on doing that again. So,
awesome.
It felt really, really amazing and very transformative. You're very gifted with what you do. Yes. And so in that way, this segment is to elevate, highlight, and connect universal stories of whether it's tragedy to triumph or victimhood to victory. We have stories, some of us, that are quite awful in the moment they're happening. And then whether in the moment they're happening or afterwards, whether it's right afterwards or years later, we look back and we say, wow, I really learned something from that. And so that's the point of this segment, this bonus segment, is to really just share in your own words. It's your personal story, and the way you relate to whatever lessons or blessings came from it is, of course, up to you. But my hope is, and I've already discovered that by sharing our stories, it really does help other people who may be going through some things as well, or who might not really understand, to reframe the narrative and empower them to do so just by saying, hey, I've been where you are, or parts of where you are, and here's what I've learned. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to be cured or feel better, but it might give some people a pathway towards that just by giving us your lens of perspective. So thank you for sharing whatever you'd like to.
I completely agree. This year I've been coming more out of hiding, sharing more of my story, sharing different aspects of my story. I mean, I got pretty raw and pretty vulnerable in my book. So in my book, I actually share 4 personal stories of exactly what you're talking about, tragedy to triumph, victim to victory. And that was vulnerable to share difficult things that had happened in my childhood, to share more current traumas. People often ask, how did I get into this? How did I get into angels? How'd you get into angels? And, often sum it all up in one word, which is trauma.
Yeah.
And, it was I had a traumatic childhood. Our family went through, there was poverty, there was abuse, there was neglect, there was a lot of stress. My parents, and I say this with great compassion for myself, for my parents. There wasn't familial support, financial support, emotional support. So I had a very chaotic childhood. I was this little empath absorbing it all. I was this little empath wanting to help my mom feel better, help my dad feel better, take care of my brother. And, I was just absorbing it all. And I'm just listening to the angels to see, yes, thank you. So, we moved from apartment to apartment to apartment. I went to 6 different grammar schools. So there was a lot of like upheaval, there was a lot of chaos. And all of that culminated into the tragic death of my father when I was 11. Mm. And I'm always conscious, I will share a little bit about it, but I'm really conscious about sharing, too many details. I do have a lot of people who follow me, a lot of people who connect with me, these beautiful earth angels, right? We're highly sensitive, we're highly intuitive, we're empathic. So I'm always so mindful about how I share some of the hard things that I've been through. So I just am, honoring all of our sensitivities. But my dad was murdered. He stepped into a robbery in progress and was stabbed and was killed. And as you can imagine, that event created a mountain of hurt in my heart, hurt, sadness, grief, anger. And I walked around with it for a long time, actually.
And fear, I would imagine a lot of fear as well.
There was fear. And, my mom did a lot more of the absorbing of the fear and the anxiety. And expressed that a lot more for me. It was more anger, below that, right, is, fear. And it was a great loss, for me personally, for our whole family. And again, I walked around with all this, in my heart. So I went directly to massage school from high school. So I never went to university. I went from high school to massage school. And I ended up loving it, being really good at it, falling in love with the healing arts. So I've really been in the healing arts field for 27 years.
Mm-hmm. Can I pause for a second and ask you why massage? Like in high school, to know that you wanted to be a masseuse, that's pretty amazing. I don't even know in high school if I knew that was even a possibility.
No, absolutely not. I knew nothing about anything.
Yeah.
Inserts, graduated from high school, summer of graduation. I was signed up to go to UIC. I was going to go to UIC. My plan was to become a teacher. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, I'll just go to school. I'll go to college and I'll become a teacher of some sort. Had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Absolutely not. And my brother, who is my dad's son, was a massage therapist, and he just seemed really happy. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And he's like trying to talk me out of it. He's like, it's a really hard job, da, da, da. And I was like, nope, I'm signing up. I had never even received a massage when I signed up for massage school. So it was just like this crazy leap of faith. And I remember being scared. Like, what if I don't, I really thought, okay, the program's 14 months. Was it 14 months? 16 months. It was like 16 months. And I'm like, if I don't like it, if I'm not good at it, if I don't like it, I'm 18, I'll just go back to college, go to college. Like I felt like world of possibility was open to me at that age. Actually, I was the youngest student there. There were a lot of like second and third act students, other massage students. So following my soul all the way back then, when I had no idea, there was that little kind of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, that trepidation. I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to do this, even though I have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
Like I said, I ended up being good at it. And that was the beginning. And why did I do it? I mean, yes, I was inspired by my brother, who was my dad's son, but I knew I was seeking peace and relief, even if I wasn't maybe even intentionally or consciously seeking it, but I was definitely subconsciously seeking that peace and relief. And I found it. I mean, my goodness, helping people relax, helping people heal, was like, it was amazing. It was a gift to me. I was like, oh, and then, so because I enjoyed it, I became good at it. And it was just this whole wonderful thing. And then I went into massage school. I went into yoga training after that, inspired by one of my business partners. And I was just in love with the healing arts, in love with body work. And like I said, I became really fascinated with energy work. And what I wanted to share here was my dark night of the soul. That's the first story that I tell in here. The third story I tell in here is my dad and his tragic death. In practice number 3, release and lead with your heart. In practice number 1, renew your devotion, I talked about my dark night of the soul. So I had kind of like a storm energy in my 20s. I got engaged. I bought a house, got married. My father-in-law passed away, and I got pregnant in like 2 years. Of course, my father-in-law passing away brought up a lot for me, a lot of unresolved grief. I really hadn't processed what happened with my dad. I had unresolved grief. I had PTSD, undiagnosed PTSD. So once I gave birth and my root chakra opened and the world slowed down so I could care for this baby, everything was coming up. The past traumas, the stress of being a parent. You know how it is when you have those young kids and you're exhausted, you want to, and you want to give them everything and do everything for them, and you're like, wait, but who am I? And just and the hormones and all of that. So I had she was almost a year old. I ended up in the psych hospital. So I ended up in the psych hospital for 11 days. The diagnosis that I received, I didn't feel in alignment. They had said I had bipolar because they didn't understand what happened. And I did have somewhat of like a manic episode of what kind of led me to the hospital. But I was like, and that's when I went through what I call my dark night of the soul, where I felt lost, I felt confused, I felt shame. It was very emotional. The things I've been talking more about this year in 2025 is being a pain relief expert. And why I consider myself a pain relief expert is because I've experienced every kind of pain. Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So for the first 20 years, there was a lot of emotional pain. All the stress and trauma that my parents were under that I was absorbing. Then my father tragically dying. And then, of course, all of that. My mom was a single mom and the struggle and all of that. So all of that came out. All of that came up and out. And that's what it was like my dark night of the soul.
And through that, then, the emergence of your angelic practice began, like right away, or little dribbles that you may not have recognized were messages that you were receiving, but then you learned how to interpret.
Yeah. That was my opening, right? The psych hospital was my opening.
Yeah.
And that dark night of the soul was this journey to what was at the end of the tunnel, right? The end of the light at the end of the tunnel for me was Reiki. And I reconnected with my Reiki practice. I found a beautiful spiritual teacher who taught me about a daily practice, reminded me of the power of meditation, of daily self-care. Because what I learned a lot from that dark night of the soul. But one of the things I learned is I need to take better care of myself.
So massage and yoga, when did you, because you said you came back to your Reiki practice. When did you embark on that? Prior to the hospital or after?
Yeah, that's very, very astute of you. So I actually studied Reiki and got attuned to the 3 levels, not master, but 1, 2, and advanced, I believe is what they used to call it, in massage school.
Oh, interesting.
But I know, I actually took it as an elective. And I thought it was cool. And, I was like, this is cool, but I didn't use it. I wasn't giving myself Reiki every day. Yes, I was giving it, sharing it with my clients a little bit. And, but the opening, right, where everything is kind of the breakdown.
Well, the image I'm getting while you're saying this is, you described giving birth to your daughter was your root chakra opening. And you think about the birth canal as like this tunnel and there's light at the end of it for your child. And then here you are experiencing the same thing in a different way. So your birth, your rebirth was because, she was a catalyst for that. And the way you just described coming at the light at the end of the tunnel was like you were going through your own birth canal into the next part of your life. So I love that image that just came to me. Yeah.
I love how the angels, right? Our angels talk to each other, right? And that vision. And it's true. That's exact. I was totally like a rebirth for me. And right, birth is messy and chaotic and not always easy. So it was a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can look back and have so much grace and compassion for myself, but at the time it was incredibly painful.
Right. Let me ask you this, if I may, too, here. So,
Sure.
the equation for a lot of people probably familiar with the words dark night of the soul. And on my past podcast, I have said I would prefer to believe that not everyone is made to or meant to go through a dark night of the soul to become spiritually attuned or awakened. That's some people's plan. And so I wanted to ask you, like in the work that you've done since, in the terms of like our divine blueprint and our soul's plan, we come in agreeing to be here to have these experiences. Have you signed on to that belief as well? Like now you understand, you agreed to come here and go through all the tragedy that you've gone through, the trauma that you've gone through, and the learning that you've received since then and through that on purpose?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. When did you come to that connection, like in that empowering way?
Yes.
From victimhood to victory, like, why me, why me, why me? And so then the whole point of the show was, well, why not you, right? Who are you? Not to say, who do you think you are? But in that way, it's like, who do we think we are except to be here having these experiences? And then we get to figure out why, right?
That was what led me to the angels. So this is like perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, why me? Why did I have to go through such hardship in my childhood? Why did I have to experience my father being murdered? Why did I have to crash and burn and go to the psych hospital? And that led me. I always had a knowing since I was a child that I had been here before. I always had a knowing that I could have been someone else. If you know the Dave Matthews song Dancing Nancy's, right? Could I have been anyone other than me? I always felt that as a child, but I didn't know anything about it. And then when I met my teacher, my spiritual teacher, after the dark night of the soul, it was like the end of the dark night of the soul, I met this teacher and I was like, oh my gosh, daily self-care, daily Reiki, daily yoga, and energy work. This feeds me. I wanted to know why all this happened to me. And it was through studying with this teacher that I began to understand karma. I began to understand we're a soul having a human experience, that we chose our parents and our life and our birthday and all this. So I found it to be empowering. I say this with great compassion because I do think that we're all in a different place of awakening with that. And sometimes it can be triggering because if you're going through something really hard, you're kind of wondering, how could I have chose this? It has to be done with great compassion. It has to be done with a lot of self-love. That for me, it was empowering to come to that space of, I chose this because then I realized anything I didn't want to do anymore, I had a choice, right, to choose again. Right? I could change my karma. I could change, as you said in the beginning, reframe. And that's a lot of what I did. I had to reframe going, everything that happened to me in my childhood. I had to reframe, my father's murder, the psych hospital. That was very painful for me to have gotten to that place. The breakdown, a lot of reframing that had to happen. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. And I would also like to add to, like, just saying the word reframing may be triggering for some people because they're not in a place of empowerment yet. And to the untrained ear, I fear when I channel, I get all rhymy. They might look at that word reframe and look at it as a Band-Aid, instead of like understanding the work and the value of being able to take a look at it and say, oh, I know why this happened. And just the finding out of why is the reframe. Because then we get to look at that situation and say, this terrible shit has happened. And at least I have some sort of new perspective that either it was meant to happen, or I can understand that it happened and I'm still a human and I'm still here. And how can I take that experience and make it work within me in a more aligned way so that I'm not stuck. I also wanted to connect similar childhood in terms of, close to the poverty line. My parents got divorced when I was very young. And because of my pecking order, I wasn't around for a lot of the abuse that my elder siblings had encountered in terms of the verbal and the fear, anger, all that stuff. But like you said, I know for sure I absorbed it. And like you, I didn't know we connected in this way. I'm always the observer. I would always be the one that could find things people lost because I was always paying attention to where my mom put her glasses or my dad left his pipe or whatever. And I could find those things. In that same way, at a very young age, massage was my tool. And what I realized is I've always been good with my hands. My parents would both ask me to massage them. I do it with my friends. I do it when I teach yoga. It grounds me. And if I'm at a party or like a girls' night out kind of thing, I'm the one getting up from the table and just massaging my friend's shoulders. And before I knew the language, I know now it's to really just ground me in the midst of so much energy. And so I'm so grateful that I just knew that without having the words yet. And then with the way I practice Reiki now is I offer hands-off traditional or a little bit of hands-on massage that comes through me intuitively, like massage here, float my hands here. And again, like everything I do for my clients also heals me. And you said that at the beginning as well. And it's fascinating, right? And it's I can see how some people would call it selfish and also equally as addicting as receiving healing to give it, because I find so much peace from my sessions with my clients, or I find so much joy and peace from teaching students. And so does that happen for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what I do. This is my passion, and, my service has evolved and I am doing less hands-on and more virtual. The energy work can be done over the heart waves is what we like to say. And I love it. I love being able to share sacred space. What I really feel I'm helping people do is helping them create a sacred space within themselves and a sacred space around them wherever they are.
Yeah.
And it is a gift, it's a gift to be able to channel their angels. And it's a gift to witness what my client is going through and shine the light of their soul, their angels onto that and really heal. And that goes back to what we were talking about, the deeper meaning. Like I wanted to understand why I had went through all these hard things. And for me, Reiki led me to my angel practice, led me to my divine connection, where, bottom line is we don't have to do it alone, right? We're not alone. We don't have to do this alone. This super hard journey of digging in the dirt, digging up the wounds and the traumas. We're not meant to do it alone. That's why I offer my service as an angel coach. I want people to know that they really any pain, whether the pain is physical or emotional, mental, spiritual, can be healed. And I'm confident of that. I'm confident your angels know how to heal your pain.
And so when you say that your practice has evolved, I know that I've seen you are now becoming a teacher of angel practitioners. You're offering that certification with your way of doing it. So I love that. And in more of the book sphere, I believe you have a second one that you're writing, or have you created?
I'm writing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a slow
process. So how's that going?
It's good. I'm taking my time. I don't feel any pressure.
When you're writing,
which is nice.
Do you call in, your writing guide, for example, when you're doing your angel healing? Do you call in specific guides from your team to connect with the client's team? Like, if you'd like to share some of your process, I would love to hear it.
Sure. So the process with me writing,
yeah, and just how you
and different from when I work with my clients,
right? Like, because you're in the angel sphere, I'm interested to know, do you have certain ones that you rely upon for certain things? I know angels want a job and they're happy when we call on them. And so I just want to know, like, do you have your go-tos, and like, do you have your favorites, or do you just open to receive whoever's meant to come through, or is it intentional for the job ahead?
Okay. Yes. Yes to all of that. First of all, yes to ask, ask, ask.
Yeah.
Right? The angels, the archangels, right, are these beautiful, the archangels are the heartbeats of God, and they are limitless beings of love and light who can be with everyone at the same time. So I do have a core group of angels, a core group of archangels that I work with in every healing session. And then based on who's coming and what they're working on, I pull an angel for that session. So there's sort of Archangel Michael, the protector angel, Archangel Ariel, the angel of compassion and the IET system, Archangel Raphael, the healer angel. And then that fourth angel is just the angel that we're calling in that day. Could be this whatever angel, right? I have those three angels that I work with no matter what, every single day, all the time. Those are the angels that I pray to. I also work very closely and strongly with Archangel Zadkiel. He's the spiritual professor angel, the angel of the one of the angels of the violet flame. So I work with these archangels, because they're bringing in protection, healing, compassion. So that's for healing sessions. And, remember, I have like a whole process that I do with my coaching clients, because I'm helping them. In order to heal that pain, they need to relax. We need to get them into a deep state of relaxation, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Then we work with the releasing and the receiving process, which happens simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And so they're releasing to receive, they're receiving to release with intention. Intention is everything. Mm-hmm. The intention, why you had such a powerful session with me is because you had an intention. I don't remember what it is right now, but what it was, right? But we had an intention. We set that intention, and then we worked with the archangels around that intention. Mm-hmm. So the science of what I do, that each of all the modalities and all that, isn't as important. I love it. I'll talk about it all day, is the result. Mm-hmm. Right? And so the results that I'm getting my clients are pain relief, divine connection, deep connection with their own angels, a deeper trust and connection, and a deeper trust of their own intuition. The most important thing that I do is I help them get the deeper meaning, the higher purpose, the lesson from that pain. It's all about receiving the gems and the pearls of wisdom. That's what this is about, right? The Why Not Me series, right, is about understanding the gems. So the gems that I've learned from my father's death all those years ago is that life is precious and eternal, right? Mm-hmm. I know he's on the other side, shining down on us, helping us more than he could in his physical limitations, in his internal struggles that he was having, the battles that he was having. He's helped us so much on the other side. Love is eternal. The soul is eternal. He taught me courage, right? Show up and do it anyway, even if you're afraid, and so much more. So, and I feel like too, because this is something I'm getting right now, like, I experienced a traumatic death of a parent, of like your core unit family, immediate family. I know that I'm here to help other people who are grieving, other people who are going through trauma or PTSD, to move through it with grace, to move through it with self-love, to move through it to the other side of grief, which is joy, and finding connecting with, aligning with our soul's joy, even though our heart is broken.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
I hope that resonates.
Yeah. And again, you had said you wanted to go to college to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a teacher. My father, who's on the other side, and you just described his helpfulness on that plane way more than he could have ever offered on this one, in the same way. He said, well, if you're going to be a teacher, then, be a high school teacher because they make more money. It was always about whatever we do, we needed to be making the most money. And, so I went through secondary math education. I started out in accounting, so I was really good at math, and I went through secondary math education. And I didn't love it, I ended up leaving school, met my husband, got married, and worked and had kids. And then, what am I doing now? I'm a teacher. What are you doing now? You're a teacher. So we always knew we wanted to be a teacher, but we just didn't understand the path that was going to get us there. Right. And
spiritual teachers.
So I just love that connection. Right. I mean, I didn't have those words back then. There was like granola people like I was raised with, but thank God, truly. And it's just so fun and fascinating when you kind of say these words as a kid. I'm going to be an astronaut, and lo and behold, maybe you are, And so because of your experience, the gift of your experience, if I may also just echo back to you, is that you're able to teach from that experience and offer hope and healing to others through your experience. And that's the whole point of this segment, is to help people understand that, again, not to minimize the pain at all, but there's help for you in a variety of ways. Medically, you need to see a medical professional. If you're in a dark struggle, there's medication for that. And there's also spiritual ways, in addition to, that piggyback and help heal that as well. And the path is personal. And the choice, I hope, becomes more empowering to the people going through it. And the courage and bravery to reach out to professionals and practitioners. And until you find the people, it's like throwing the noodles on the wall. Until you find the ones that stick, takes some practice, and it takes some stops and starts sometimes. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you haven't found the right teacher. It means the right teacher hasn't found you. So be open to that. Be open to receiving, the gifts that come in unexpected ways. Even just listening to this podcast now, people can reach out to you, and I'm going to put your information in the show notes. I want you to tell people how to find you. People can reach out to me. My information's in the show notes as well. But we're here to help people help themselves and feel the truest version of themselves, is what I like to say. So is there anything else you'd like to share before our time is almost over?
I just feel like the time went by so fast. And we were just going with the flow. I didn't have a script.
No, we don't have a
script. I didn't have any, I just wanted to share some of my experience from my heart. What I would say, sort of what you were saying. I mean, I have an invitation, which I'd be happy to share, talking about wanting to offer, being a resource and offering support and all of that. So I do have an invitation. I mean, I am passionate about helping clients heal pain in their bodies with the love of the angels, whether that pain is physical or emotional. The results that I'm getting from my clients are absolutely amazing. I had a client who had restless leg syndrome, and she had 3 1-hour angel healing sessions for me, and she's 98% better. And she struggled with it for decades. She literally had it for decades.
Yeah.
Feeling tired, feeling sleep, not being able to sleep. And it was just amazing, the healing that happened for that client. And so it's an honor to help my clients to witness their healing process. And so my invitation is a free consult. Mm-hmm. And it was called the Breakthrough Conversation. And I changed it to the Angelic Pain Relief Consult, because in that consult, it's a free consult. It's over Zoom. It's about an hour. It's a heartfelt space. It's a compassionate space where I'm listening to you and your angels. And I'm going to share what your pain is really about. We think it's this, but it's really this. Mm. I'm also going to share what your angels are saying about the pain. And this is so valuable. It already starts to create the relief. In that consult, I also pull an archangel just for you based on what we talked about. And I'm going to share what that archangel is saying about your pain and your next steps forward. And then, of course, if we're a good fit, I share the details of my coaching program with you. That's the way that I'm offering support, is through my coaching programs. And of course, I have, all my socials and all my free things that I do. I have my amazing book, which is on Amazon. So lots of ways to connect with me and my medicine. If what I shared resonated with you, if some part of my story touched your heart, if some part of my story is part of your story. I want to say this because I'm being more intentional. I really want to help people who are experiencing autoimmune issues. PTSD, the cancer journey, and chronic pain. Like I am this whole year is about helping people heal chronic pain. So I have a masterclass coming up and just a lot of wonderful stuff. Cause I just keep sharing my medicine and sharing from my heart. So thank you, Lauri, for this amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, tell people how to find you, your website.
Yes, JillKempnerHealing.com. So it's my name, healing, JILLKEMPNER, healing.com. And then I'm on, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll put a link to all that plus your book in the show notes.
Cool.
And I just want to really thank you and honor you for coming on to share your story in the way that you were able to share it. Time really did fly, and I feel the air around me is a little cool, which I know means somebody's here with me. And so I love that. And again, I'm sincere. Like, you guys, I had the most transformative healing session. It was the only thing I had wrong with me was I couldn't breathe because I was just recovering from a cold, if you remember. So, and I don't love to mouth breathe, although I don't tape my mouth. I know that's a whole trend right now. I just sleep with my mouth closed. But so I want to come back when I can really take some good deep breaths and get even deeper. The work you do also, it's not formulaic, just like you said. It's very intuitive, and it's different every time. And so I invite people having any experience, whether it's with me on a yoga mat or not, or with Reiki or not, any healing session you receive, just be open to receiving the healing that comes through that's really meant to in that moment. And you might see angels, you might see colors. And then the next time you may not see any of those things. It doesn't mean the healing isn't working. It's just working a little differently. So I just want to remind people, just really be a sponge. Surround yourself with your own intention, do whatever sort of dome of protection that honors you. But it takes faith and trust and fun also to be open to receiving, because angels are really funny too. They speak in language I can understand. They cuss, when they come through me sometimes. They rhyme all the time.
Yes.
And I see colors, and then I get sort of squirreled on, well, who's purple and who's blue, and then I'm like Googling it so I know who's around.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do another one about angels and colors.
I would love to. I actually, we will do that for sure. So, Jill, my friend, my teacher, my fellow healer practitioner, you are an angel on earth. And I appreciate everything you're doing and everything you shared with my audience today on The Real and the Woo.
Awesome. Pleasure and honor. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.